I'm in Manhattan at 4 World Trade Center, right outside the Port Authority building where they just held a meeting. Ever since Bridgegate, it's been pretty obvious to everybody that the Port Authority needs to be reformed. It's a bistate legislators from both New York and New Jersey have been working together to come up with some kind of reform bill. Now, New York was able to get their act together last year. That's when Governor Cuomo signed their bill into law. But New Jersey is a whole different issue. The legislature has passed a Port Authority reform bill similar to the one passed in New York, but Governor Christie has yet to sign it. While I was at the board meeting, Newark Mayor Ras Baraka was there, and he was actually advocating for the Port Authority to develop more in his city, but only in his city's best interests. So I asked him, what do you think about the Port Authority? Does it need more transparency? What do you think about Governor Christie not signing the bill?
It is, it's difficult for us to find out different things that's going on, but ultimately, that's a question you have to bring up with the governor. I don't have the power to veto it. If I was the governor, I wouldn't have done that. So
then I spoke to Port Authority officials and I asked them directly, well, how can the agency function if it only has transparency on the New York side? Just half transparency. Does that work?
Port Authority's done 98% of what's in those bills on its own, of its own volition in prior resolutions authorized by the board and in the resolutions we did today. Having it embodied in law is fine. Governor Christie, by the way, supports reform legislation for the Port Authority. He supports the mirror image of what has passed in New York that's represented by Senator Kane's bill. In New Jersey, it's inaccurate to say that he doesn't support reform at the Port Authority. He has consistently.
And the Port Authority officials also pointed out that they are making efforts on their own to have more transparency, even if the two governors might not be seeing eye to eye.
Sibile, it is such a joke to me. This is like these guys are debating whether or not to put a Band-Aid over the spot where your arm was, if your limb was severed. It's so ridiculous. The bill makes no sense. We already know what goes on at the Port Authority. It's a total patronage machine.
Well, the whole point of what you just said about only being transparency on one side, the Port Authority is not a one-way mirror that you can see through on one side. It's a bi-state agency. And the very nature of bi-state agency means that if the two sides don't agree, you get nothing.
But honestly, it is such a mess that these shenanigans going on in that room are just, it's a joke, it's a waste of time. They need to rip the whole thing out and start again.
Well, Bill, we talked about this. They should just privatize it.
There you go. There you go. Thanks, Sibile.